And I do urge you to support passage of this platform. We have an opportunity to go through this with you all, the delegates, on Saturday. I think that's May 4th, 2019. We're going to have a window of time to go through this platform on Saturday, which is a first in the last 3 conventions at least, which gives us a great opportunity to get this out in front of a full room of delegates and get this passed, hopefully in one vote. You know, I really want this passed in one vote. I want to remind delegates that, of course, there's going to be errors. We're all human. But if it's a clerical error, if it's a spelling, if it's a past tense versus future tense kind of thing, the executive committee has the power to correct those problems, like going back to convention. So, you know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if you see some minor issue, typically a minor issue can be fixed by the executive committee after the convention. The critical thing is getting motions done quickly because we have limited time to have the delegation seated. And we ask for your support. That's why we're doing this video now. That's why we're spending time editing this stuff up and getting it out to you and putting some of these excerpts together, is to corral all the votes ahead of time so we get in and out and into other business. In other words, Libertarian Party of Florida Constitution and bylaws, changes, motions are already queued up. We don't want to suck up all the time either. We want to make time for them and vice versa. So that's a quick view of this tool, draftable.com. It's a free website, so hopefully this will stay up here for forever, but it's available. You can opt to not print, or you can opt to have printed for you. Likewise, this last website I just flashed in front of you, this one should be available during the convention, so bring your tablet or laptop or what have you. You can easily pick through this real quick and do word searches, whatever you're focused on. You can see how it may or may not have been handled by us during our last year of working together. So at this time, I want to thank y'all for becoming knowledgeable on what we're trying to do as a state party, helping us with our founding documents, especially Platform 1, which we spent, which our little committee spent time on. And I want you to be aware, we really do appreciate you guys being that critical eye, but keep in mind, we fixed a ton of problems that most critical eyes couldn't believe was even in the document for years and years. And of course, we focused on the last version, 2017. No offense to those folks who did their best then, but we're really trying to knock it out of the park with the version we're doing right now. So thanks for joining me here. Do read further, read through the details, talk to your other delegate friends who are going to be at convention, bring like-minded folks with you, get them on board, walk them up this learning curve we just kind of flew through real quick right here, right now tonight, and help build support. We need your support to get this platform cleaned up, updated, so we can have maximum impact on our culture, on the political folks in the state of Florida, and on our volunteers and future candidates. We want them to be helped as much as we can with whatever wisdom we carry forward from our own readings of our literature. Looking for a book to flash in front of you. I got bumper stickers. I try to keep it really simple. Let's keep the philosophy simple. No, but seriously, there's some well-read people on our committee. There's been a lot of wisdom in the original document, which we've certainly tried to utilize and, in a sense, updated for what's going on today in our culture. That's the quick 1, 2, 3 from Kevin, just a volunteer on the platform committee. Come on out. If you're not already plugged in with the Libertarian Party State of Florida regarding these documents, volunteer yourself, fill out the forms on the website, lpf.org, lpf.org. I'm coming out of Hillsborough, where Tampa is, so I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at convention.
Kevin, unless you want to, in case you're curious, I do see your desktop now.
Okay, good. Thanks very much. I really appreciate that. I see my desktop, of course, but then I see my picture on the right, and I'm like, I don't know if it's sharing or not. All right, thank you very much, Ben, for sharing that, because you might see my eyes going back and forth, trying to be professional.
I was looking at the help and talking to you about where to screen share.
Yeah, we got it going on now. So I just want to let everybody know in case you just joined us that we're going to be recording this sharing on Zoom as well as future Zooms for a couple of different reasons. One, I'm sure you guys have some good questions. Hopefully we can produce some good answers. Two, just I wanted to make this opportunity to record so we can help educate the delegates as best we can ahead of time. And that's pretty much the main thing. So we can kind of get our mindset out to everybody in a recording that people can listen to and watch at their leisure. And and hopefully we can get a couple of our committee members on the call so we can answer some questions too. Since Stephen's still kind of traversing from his car to his PC, I'd like to open up the floor to any questions. Maybe we can address them if people have been have already read ahead. I guess I should ask, has anyone read ahead and read the preamble yet? Or read the platform rather yet?
Yeah. I have.
Yes.
Okay, great. Let us have it. What do you guys think?
I did notice you switched, for example, between unalienable and inalienable at a couple points. Was there a reason?
I think that would kind of be a typo.
To be honest, if there was any switch to unalienable over inalienable, it was probably done unintentionally. If there was any new platform planks in there, they were probably just authored by that individual. But that's something we'll take into account. I'll write that down in my notes because we do try to be consistent with a few wordings in the platform. For instance, when talking about the Constitution, we refer to it in a specific way, but in other platform planks that didn't have anything to do with the 10th Amendment, we wouldn't capitalize people, for instance. There were certain little details in there that we did change for continuity that we were mindful of, but I didn't notice that one, but we will bring that up in the next meeting because that is something that could be something just some housekeeping could change.
Yeah, I guess it's a English word, so inalienable versus unalienable. I think we'd probably want to mimic whatever the U.S. Constitution has, or that would be the Declaration of Independence, if I recall correctly.
That would be inalienable.
With an I?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Wayne Jackman here.
Hey, Wayne Jackman.
Hey, Orange County. Yeah, I had one question on the preamble. The last sentence of the first paragraph, we oppose the initiation of force to reach social and political goals. And really here, instead we adopt a non-aggression principle, an idea that has been universal in cultures and traditions for millennium. Well, I don't know that it's been universal. That was my question. What about the great warrior, cultures?
Also, shouldn't it be a millennium or millennia as the plural?
Millennia. Well, yeah, probably. But it could be millennia, yeah, for this millennium or whatever. My point was, I kind of get what's trying to be said here, but it's not universal, and I don't know that I have a problem with. I guess that was my big takeaway from probably going through most of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's been present in cultures and traditions for millennia.
Yeah,
right.
But it's not been universal. It's been present.
I have to
that
agree.
would. Okay.
I'm just saying for sake of, as an accuracy thing. I don't,
Yeah, that's excellent feedback. Sometimes you stare at something week after week, you miss the obvious. That's a real good one there.
Yeah, I guess what we were trying to touch on with that piece or the last sentence there in the first paragraph of the preamble was the idea of the golden rule. The golden rule, of course, in a lot of different religious and, societal texts, it's, treat others how you want to be treated, don't hit other people and take their stuff. So I think that's kind of where the non-aggression principle stems from. And it incorporates the old statement of principle from the old platform, which was something on the lines of we oppose the initiation of force to reach social and political goals. Instead, we adopt the non-aggression principle, an idea that has been universal in culture and tradition for millennium. So, Kev, can you pull up the 2017 platform? Let's see, let's compare what that says.
I think it's all good. I just think universal needs to be, present needs to be substituted for universal.
Because I somewhat remember, I thought that was in the old preamble, but I might be wrong.
Unalienable rights, ownership, millennium. So this is on the right is 2019, on the left is 2017.
Can you scroll down to the preamble?
Yeah, it's just not lining up side to side perfectly there. Seeing it in there. So I'm not seeing it in the 2016 version.
So that was something that was added in then.
Yeah. Addition. I appreciate that feedback. Thanks.
I'll go ahead and add that in my notes too. We can look into that. And just FYI, a lot of the small things like that, millennia from millennium, things like that, that can always be changed at any time during the course of the year and in the normal EC meetings. We can actually change any part of the platform in a normal EC meeting that's non-substantive. So if there are minor things that we pick up later that we say, this doesn't sound right, or this word will be a little bit better, that word will be a little bit better, that doesn't change what's being said. We can actually do that over the course of the regular EC session. But is there anything that anybody that has had time to go through the platform, compare things, was there any questions regarding why we chose to add anything to the platform or take anything out, or was there any questions or concerns or comments regarding any piece of the platform being proposed? Because essentially what we'd like to do going into conventions, we'd like to...
J. Mark speaking up there, Stephen.
Oh, J. Mark?
No, I was just saying, no, I didn't see any issues and concerns.
Well, that's a great sign then. We had a really great team this past year. We worked very hard to really come together. We had a lot of conversations, some debates, some, I wouldn't want to say we really compromised on anything, because I feel like everybody that came together, some piece of everything that's been said came together and created what's been created. So I don't think anybody feels like they've been left out or their words weren't, taken to heart. So we had a diverse team here. We had some principled anarcho-capitalists, minarchists, classical liberals, and we didn't want anything to lean too close to one side or the other, but we wanted to present a general libertarian platform that I think would be largely a consensus of what libertarians support. And we didn't want to create any kind of policy for libertarians to go off of. For instance, a policy item might be, teaching the Bible in schools, or teaching evolution in schools, or anything that would seem teaching the Socratic method in schools. Even though some of these things might be good ideas, or something that a candidate would come out with in support of a piece of legislation, or something a local candidate can do. That's not what we wanted. We didn't want anything that was policy driven, but we wanted people to be able to read this, come in and say, what do libertarians believe? Oh, it's X, Y, and Z. Okay. And then next year, we didn't have enough time this year, but next year, we're going to make a long version of the platform. The long version is going to be a much more detailed version of the platform. And it's basically going to take each platform plank, it's going to expand on it in length, and it's going to explain the how, or the why rather, behind what we believe. So someone had asked, well, libertarians want to legalize all drugs. Well, what does that mean? Why do you want to legalize all drugs? Then we can go into talking about things like places like Portugal and how they've handled their drug problem, and how, prohibition actually leads to more violence. It leads to a black market, how it leads to grants which promote police agencies going into minority neighborhoods to make arrests, because they get grants, they get promotions, they get, new equipment. So how it's all tied together, and why we believe what we believe as libertarians. And I really think that by doing this, it's going to be something that's going to be really revolutionary for a libertarian state affiliate to adopt something so comprehensive. I heard somewhere that California had like a 30-page platform. I don't know if that's true. Now they don't have a platform. They voted it all away. I'm not sure what happened there. But most other political parties, even the Constitution Party and the Green Party of Florida, they have comprehensive platforms that are 30, 40, 50 pages long that go into depth of what they believe in. So one thing I do like about our platform is that people actually read it, and we're all very proud of our platform, especially our statement of principles and the national platform. So I never want to see that go away. I think that's a great idea. But I think we do need something to go a little bit deeper and to be a guideline for our candidates, for our members, and for prospective members, to come in and find out what libertarians believe in. Because the big questions I get asked a lot is, oh, you're a libertarian? Well, what does that mean? So the platform is really important.
Thanks, Stephen. All right, so I think you caught the big takeaway there, which is this year, 2019, we're looking to do a significant replacement of the platform. You can go through the red line to see exactly what we're talking about, but I'd say it's a pretty significant change we're proposing. But the door is open for a deliverable in 2020 of what we call the long form of the platform. Not exactly sure how it'll be approved or disapproved, or whether it's just going to be an EC vote, but nonetheless, explanations for why we believe what we believe in our platform document with examples and things like that. That's what's planned for a 2020 deliverable, or at the minimum, we're going to start building the document. Hopefully it'll be ready at that time. So come on, volunteers.
And, one thing I want to do with these meetings too is, like I think Kevin might have alluded to earlier in the email and also before we started, is that we want to come into the convention in May. And traditionally it's Sunday. Everybody's, tired. You probably stayed out socializing late at night the day before, and we had a day of business the day before. Everyone's eager to get home. And I remember at last year's convention, or maybe it was the year before that, I think it might have been 2017. 2017, we had a convention. People wanted to go home. They wanted to go home. It's like, no, let's, we got to hold it together until we finish all the business. And so what normally happens with the platform committee is they have certain planks that they want to change. They're all separate motions. And then we go into the business of attacking each motion. And knowing libertarians, we obviously, we like to be very thorough, and that's normally not a bad thing. But usually when we're too thorough, we get into a lot of discussions and amendments of amendments, which is all great. But when it comes to a platform this size, we'll be there. We'll be lucky to finish by Wednesday night if we don't get to it fast enough. And I'm sure people want to go home and hit the pool or hit the beach or whatever it is. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to have a comprehensive motion, which includes the entire platform, and just say, look, do you guys want to, we want to adopt the whole platform as it stands, the new version. If there's any kinks in the armor, we want to find out now in these meetings that if there's anything major that we overlooked, or, that there's something that's smacking us in the face we're not seeing, or that there's just a big disagreement of that we think is going to not let that happen, then we want that to come up now. So if anything bubbles up that gets your attention, it doesn't really sound like it, which is great. In the last meeting too, no one really had many issues with the platform, which makes me pretty happy to hear. I got a couple whenever you get a break. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the convention with this one comprehensive motion to adopt the whole thing. If not, we're going to have some backup motions to go in section by section and make amendments to the planks within those sections. So if there's a couple of different amendments to some planks, we'll go in, we'll attack a plank, we'll amend it, we'll go to the next plank, we'll amend it, and then we're going to have to adopt that as one amendment instead of going into each individual plank and have over 100 motions. So that's kind of where we're at. So I guess another thing we're going to do a convention too for those that weren't here last meeting is we're actually going to take some of the documents you see here, and we're going to have a printed copy, maybe 50 or 100 printed copies, whatever it is, enough for everybody there, for each delegate to have. That way on Saturday they can have it, they can digest it. That way it doesn't come as a surprise on Sunday and say, here's the new platform, vote on it right now, hold on, I don't even have enough time to read it. So we don't want people to feel like they're getting this jammed through, or we're being disingenuous with the platform. We really want people to have time to come and take a look at it and digest it and sit with it and highlight things that they think that need to be changed, or if they have questions on things to ask us. So at convention, I know I'll be doing some lobbying to get this thing put through, and I'm gonna be talking to people and make myself available to whoever might have questions regarding the platform. So does anybody have, doesn't sound like much, but does anybody have any specific questions regarding any of the platform planks?
I have some comments. I hate, this is Ben Backrack. I don't want to wordsmith, but I can't help it. I have a suggestion for making the platform shorter by using the word use instead of utilize. Many English teachers would say you should never utilize use. You never use utilize. Excuse me, I got that backwards. So that, but again, it's just wordsmith. But the other thing in that same sentence under 6, taxes and fees, you don't mention donations, just lotteries and user fees. And I would, if it were me, I would like to see the word donation in there. Because
you go down to taxes.
All these people who say they're willing to pay higher taxes, there's nothing stopping them from donating. But
somebody's got a parakeet or something, huh? If you can mute your parakeet, that'd be awesome. So that's this is the 6 we're talking about, huh? Under
so adding
section 6.
So number 6 currently reads, adding sales tax to products already subject to specific state tax, such as gasoline and cigarettes, should be ended. This practice results in double taxation as consumers are paying a tax on a tax. So I think we could even add a separate plank regarding donations, and how donations should always be voluntary transactions between people, and should not be taxed by government, essentially. I've added that to my notes too, Ben. I think that's a good idea. And honestly, I actually enjoy wordsmithing. I love writing. I love finding the simplest, the most eloquent use of words that and when I try to write things. So if you have suggestions on that, if you want to go through, I'll send you the Word document form of the PDF here. And if you want to go through it and make suggestions, highlight your suggestions, send it back to me. I will work with my team here, and we'll go through and vote on utilizing some of the, or using, not utilizing, using some of those suggestions.
So that's an email you're sending off to Ben. Is that right, Stephen?
Yeah, Ben, I'll send it to you through Facebook. I think we're connected on Facebook. That should be fine.
Okay. Yes. However, you can do it.
Perfect.
Now I was referring to the first. I don't know what you call it. What the numbered paragraphs. So you call those paragraph 1 of
we got the sections.
Section 6, paragraph 1. You could just add the word donation, and where it says such as lotteries and user fees, you just say such as donations, lotteries, and user fees. So, that's where I don't think you need to add the whole new paragraph.
Okay. So under number 1, donations as an option.
Government should utilize voluntary means of supporting state services such as lotteries, user fees, and donations, which I completely agree with. I thought you were referring to donations being taxed, but I see where you're coming from now.
Oh, I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, the Roman numerals are what we call sections, so then the numbers are just numbers underneath the section. Paragraphs, yes. All right. Anybody else have a comment?
I do.
I think the parakeet has a few questions. Who was that?
Wayne Jackman, Orange County.
Hey, Wayne.
Hey, and I just want to say I appreciate everything that you've done, man. This is a Herculean task here. Just a couple quick ones. State government, section 1, paragraph 9. Okay, and it talks about there should be no laws prohibiting or limiting electronic recording in reporting of any public official, including law enforcement, while performing their duties. I don't know. I mean, I would question maybe that there should be an exception there for like public defenders, public prosecutors, and maybe crisis managers, or somebody that has the public interest at heart. Is working for a member of the public, because certainly there would be. We wouldn't want everything recorded by any public official. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess what we kind of were touching on there, and maybe we should define public place a little bit better, because if there's a public defender with their client, obviously in a public building, we want that to be private as far as
right.
What they're discussing. I guess what we mean more so is when a police officer is out in public, in a line of duty, or if
no, totally get that.
Right. Yeah, but I guess maybe we could kind of be a little bit more clear on that.
Well, or add an exception, because I think it's good if you add an exception for whatever, and maybe I'll try and come up with something.
We can just add the word public duties here. We pretty much have two specifications: public places, and then we have their duties. So we could maybe change that to their public duties. I'm just trying to figure out whose bird that is going off. If someone could voluntarily mute your bird, that would be awesome.
I don't have one, so there we go. And one more under taxes and fees, number 6.
Mm-hmm.
The section 7, we oppose any sales tax or any tax on the internet. I'm cool if that's the case that we do, but are we opposing interstate taxes as well as intrastate taxes? Is that our?
I guess since it's really the Florida state platform, it would only apply to Florida. I might set our tone for what we believe in as far as, hey, we don't like being taxed by other states too. But it's really up to those other states to decide. If California wants to put a 20% Amazon tax on, or New York, there's nothing to really do about it. So in the context of the platform, it really only applies to Florida. It doesn't apply to the federal government, although there's a few things that might involve the federal government, but are tied to the state government somehow. So I would say that the meaning of number 6 really revolves around just the state of Florida. So some states have that tax, some states don't, but there's nothing we can do about those other states. They still got to pay it, fortunately.
Just asking.
Yeah.
All right, and one last one, and then I'll go and I'll hit up somebody to get my email out to you, because
Sure.
I think there's some grammatical stuff that could probably be done.
And feel free to, sorry to cut you off, feel free to email me at platform@lpf.org for anybody interested in submitting any suggestions or that wants to reach us for any reason. Platform@lpf.org.
I'll send you a request for the Word doc portion. Okay. All right. One last question, and Cataret's on here, so feel free to answer, Phil. Same section, state government, number 7. We advocate a sunset law requiring an automatic end to most government offices, agencies, departments, laws and regulations. Or I'm not a micro anarchist, mini maybe, but all laws and regulations, or most laws and regulations, we're going to routinely sunset.
Yeah, so I think
I just say yes on that one.
On this as well. Wasn't there? I believe. Let me see if there's a sunset law.
I don't think we have any mandatory one in this state. Is that what you're referring to? They do sunset some laws, but it's not like across the board.
Well, that's not what our statement's saying. That's kind of my question. I think that non-libertarian's going to think that that's a little radical, and it is, and I don't necessarily have a problem with radical, but that's a lot of work for government to recreate these laws if they're automatically going to sunset, you know.
Or they could be reauthorized. I mean, they could just do a single piece of paper and say reauthorize this entire chapter of the existing Florida statutes, chapter XYZ, at the beginning of every one of their sessions if they wanted to. Yes, this is like the whole, like, this got into, if our parents passed this law, does that mean as children of these parents, we should just accept this? I mean, there should be a review at some point. It doesn't occur in the present process. Having a sunset law would force it to occur.
Okay, that's a legit argument. I just want to make sure that we get the right answer when that comes up, because it's going to come up.
Yeah, and I think this is something we can definitely go into more in the long version of the platform of the specifics of how that could be enforced. Because I'm just doing a little research here, and it looks like some laws have that sunset clause built into it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, a lot of states, believe it or not, have a broad sunset clause, and a lot of states actually removed it. So I think only 22 states, including Florida, still include that clause. Texas actually has it for all their agencies. Under Texas laws, all agencies except universities, courts, boy, apparently wants to talk. Universities, courts, and agencies established by the Texas Constitution will be abolished on a specific date, generally 12 years after creation or renewal, unless a Texas legislature passes specific legislation to continue its function. So, and there's an advisory committee that oversees the provisions of the Sunset Act. So it seems like something other states do adopt. Obviously, this is more of a radical.
All in favor of organizations and all that. My specific question was, laws and regulations. In that, that's a pretty big, pretty big carry, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think I would actually be in favor of removing the 10-year part of that statement, because, it's really up to whatever politician's in charge that has an L next to their name to decide that, to decide how that's going to be, if it's going to be laws, if it's going to be taxes, if it's going to be agencies. So I think I'm going to put it in the notes. I think we should remove the 10-year part of that, because like I said, it could be 20 years, it could be 12 years, it could be 5 years, depending on whatever libertarian is in office decides. So I think that might be too policy.
I mean, I would say that the point of this is these guys whoever our elected officials are, get a pass year after year for these entire bookshelves of statutes we see behind these lawyer TV commercials. I mean, that's literally the law, and nobody who's elected officials read all those laws. Why do we have these laws? I think they should go justify them at least once a decade. And that's I don't know if I initiated this one. We could figure this out in our notes, but it's really a serious housekeeping at the state legislature level. Not trying to mire up the works up there so they can't get anything done, but at the very minimum, neglect is what we're trying to knock off here. Obviously, murder is going to stay on the book and things like that. But if they come down with a core set of statutes, they're going to renew every 10 years forever. Okay, fine. That's like the essential part of government, so to speak. And all this other stuff, they would have to, spend some energy to reauthorize at least once a decade. I'm
not saying I disagree. I totally
understand that, but it's like one of the things we were just thinking. We kind of went through a process because a lot of us had different opinions, as you can imagine, when we were doing the platform work. And we did kick some of the stuff to that long version of a platform, which doesn't exist yet, but we hope to create for 2020. Because when things came up like this and it was complicated, an explanation is necessary in a lot of these matters, just like we're going through right here. So certainly the long form of the platform would lend itself to explaining these types of things. But
when I was in Georgia, actually, it was interesting. I gave my regional report, and I had a gentleman ask something about the LMC platform regarding removing the income tax. and he said, I have this buddy, and he thinks it's crazy that we have this platform plank that we're going to get rid of the income tax because it just seems so radical and so unrealistic. And I said, well, I'll tell you this. And I told him, I said, obviously before 1913 we didn't have the income tax. I said, there's a lot of ways to fund the federal government without the income tax, and Florida and North Carolina don't have an income tax. So we can definitely do things without an income tax. But it really comes down as libertarians to how we communicate. And I know for a lot of people, we're the ambassadors of the libertarian movement. For a lot of people, the first time they hear the word libertarian, it's usually coming out of our mouths. So it really depends how we communicate these things and how we defend it, and how we might have to be the apologist for a lot of what we say, and we have to be able to back that up. I think a lot of things, like you said, we do agree on, but it's how do we explain it? So when we get to that long version of the platform, I really want to get into the why, and why we believe what we believe, how it can be, what that might look like, ways to really explain a little bit more in depth why we believe what we believe. So I actually think that plank looks a little bit more policy-esque, which I don't like, because it does say within 10 years. But other than that, I do like it, just for the fact that it does help keep bad laws off the books that libertarians might not support, or people that might not support in general. Might have been a failed law, but it stays there. After 10, 12 years, do we still need a law that says you can't, milk your cow on a Sunday while it's raining? Probably not. That came from a different era. Or do we still need some of these prohibition era laws that still haunt us? Probably not. We can probably get rid of that. So I think with the point of a sunset clause is to kind of revisit laws and regulations after a certain amount of time to say, hey, did it work out? Did it not work out? Can we improve it? Just get rid of it? Where are we at with that law? Is it outdated? Does it need to be updated? So that's kind of where that comes from. But I think an explanation in a long version would definitely be a good supplement for that.
If I could pile on a little bit, the government's did a couple things. One is growing and getting bigger and bigger. One example would be the Dust Bowl created the Soil and Water Commission, a favorite for us libertarians to try out our new prospective politicians in the Soil and Water Commission. Is that really a necessary commission? Maybe, maybe not. But, if there was a sunset law on the existence of that commission, it may very well be gone by now. But that just goes right on down the line for whatever other governmental operations are going on. Someone needs to justify what they're doing with our taxpayer money at least once a decade. Is I think part of the beauty of this sunsetting.
Anybody else have any other questions?
I just wanted to point out one more thing, if I can find it here under public schooling. We moved this to the top of the list under education. Individuals should not be compelled to fund public schooling. I think this should be flagged. This is, I believe, completely new language for us. And we spotlighted it by putting it under number 1. Obviously, this is coming from a voluntary society type of perspective with respect to, forcing us to do anything. At the same time, we are saying we want to do a long form of this platform. We're not in any way trying to say we're not in support of educating our children at all. What we're saying is, the public, as in like people with no children, especially, shouldn't be forced to pay for this system that exists now, which is obviously government schools. It should be a voluntary type system, and in many respects, parents should definitely be responsible for raising their children and educating their children in whatever means they see fit. Didn't want that to shoot under the radar. Kind of wanted to bring up possibly new / objectionable details of the platform, here in this type of venue, so we can air some things out and eventually get some buy-in as we go about trying to get the platform passed.
So guys, if there's no more questions, we'll start wrapping this up. Any other questions for anybody?
Yeah, this is J. Mark. If you could send me the doc,
Sure.
I'd like to go through it. And reading through it, I have a generalized comment that's much more mundane than philosophy, but in general, I would replace your use of ought to be with should be, and wherever possible, your should be's should be musts. Try to have a more forceful and dynamic position.
Okay, making notes here.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to send you the documents as well. That way you can go into I have a PDF. I have a PDF and I have a.
Yeah, I sent a link out to the entire Google directory that has all these documents we're staring at. Like if you, this is the Google Drive directory right here that has all the documents in it. I think you guys are still seeing this on the screen. And that should have been emailed to everybody. If you got an email from LPF yesterday, and it's in every version of us trying to promote these video conference calls. So, J. Mark, do you have that already by chance from the video?
I do.
You do have that. Okay.
I do.
So that should put you on all the versions of these documents above the screen here.
And just an FYI, I'll be happy to keep taking any kind of suggestions as far as the wording goes, because I don't know how long you've been on the call, J. Mark, but anything that's non-substantive mention, I'm going to change the wording to be a little more stronger, or change any grammatical errors or syntax and stuff like that. We can definitely do. There's no rush.
Okay.
So if it's not now, it's the next after convention. We can definitely do that. Just FYI.
I just like forceful language.
I agree. Yeah, I think we need to be strong on our resolve on a lot of this stuff, and I like a little bit more of a, kind of stronger point.
Thank you.
You guys have any parting words of wisdom for us as we go about trying to sell this platform to you folks on the phone who might have been doing this for the last decade or two?
I think just for my team and for us, Kevin, we when we're out there, we should really talk to people and sit down with them and make sure they read through their paper and see if they got any questions. Make sure they digest it, because whoever's not reading it is going to come up on Sunday and say, wait a minute, hold on a second, let me read through this thing. So I think it's up to us as a team to make them aware of that, and I plan on doing that as much as I can as well, and make a couple announcements at the beginning and whatnot. So
it won't stop everybody. I'm telling you, man, you're entering the lion's den, and it's going to be brutal.
Yeah, oh, I know. We're dealing with libertarians, so I'm not it's going to be interesting. I'll say that.
How do you like the two-path approach? Pool deck, pass the platform today and go to the pool deck tomorrow, or don't pass the platform today and we'll talk about the platform tomorrow? Just two paths. Just pass the whole platform, or stay here all Sunday and work on the platform.
They'll forgo the pool every time.
They'll forgo the pool every time. Yeah, that's true. I know. It's wishful thinking on our part. I know.
We're dealing with Floridians, so.
I'm hoping they brought their spouses or something. They'll drag them out of the meeting and say, pass the platform. Let's go to the pool.
So we have to get the spouses on board. Is that what you're saying, Kev?
Yeah. Anyone who's traveling with them and wants to enjoy their company at the poolside, and they should be pushing for pass the platform in one motion. But we'll work on the language. Maybe we can create a following.
Anything else from anybody, guys? Any closing comments, thoughts?
Just thanks.
Well, I want to thank all you guys for being here. The platform is so central to the party and what we do, and it's really a unifying document. And I want to thank you all for sparing us some of your time and thoughts, and being interested in being a part of this process with us, and being on the call tonight. And we're going to have a couple more meetings in the next following week. So I sent out a few documents to Ben and J. Mark. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or shoot me an email, platform@lpf.org, and submit anything. I'll bring up my team, and we'll be talking constantly over the next couple of weeks between meetings. So So your voice will be heard. I got to get with Larry Gillis, Kevin, and let him know we did talk about his suggestions. I don't know if he's on the call tonight.
He hasn't identified himself.
So he could be here. He could be with the parrot.
I'll let you guys know that this exact venue is going to be open the next couple Tuesdays. I know Stephen mentioned we have to submit a final version, I think, before next Tuesday. So we got some great suggestions tonight. We're going to probably talk about them once and then incorporate them next. And we'll probably update the same documents in that Google Drive for anyone who's been looking at the Google Drive. And, we'll just replace those with the new ones if we end up revising something. But come on back next week if you're able to, and if you're also able to share your opinions with the other delegates. We're looking to build some support, of course, and as well as educate the members and hopefully clean up our platform at convention in about 3.5 weeks.
All right. Excellent. All
yeah,
right,
everybody.
Well, thank you very much. What's that? Thank you very much, everybody. All right. Have a great night and stay safe out there.
You guys all be well.
Good night.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. Night.
Changing a few words here and there to be a little more dynamic, but otherwise, y'all's platform looks really good.
Yeah, thanks very much. We have I think we're having a meeting tomorrow to do final edits because we have to file it with the secretary. I believe the day after, on Thursday, to be compliant with the rules. So if you have suggestions, we will take your suggestions. And I'm just pulling up the copies on my screen right now. I feel like my eyes bugging or shooting back and forth up here. All right, so I got my act together here a few minutes after the start time. Thanks for being patient. For those of you who didn't read all the fine print, the platform committee of the LPF has gone through the platform from 2017 in detail. We've met pretty much once a week for about 10 months. And, the net of it is there was a lot of statute-like language in the platform that we sought to, I guess, encapsulate the main principle that language was trying to, impart without having it sound like we're trying to write the laws. And that took place. There was, we had a couple different searches through the document, like what's not here was a common question, so we can kind of capture, principles that we've been talking about for years, but really haven't written into our platform. And then emphasis. So we have all these references to the state, but technically it's government, and it could be federal, could be Florida, state, could be county, could be local. So we had a pretty big effort to kind of scrub the general word of the state out of it and replace that word typically with government. If we were, if it was a subcategory specific to something the state of Florida was doing, of course, we might use the word the state, but that was sort of a couple of the big ones. We had, it was a long tour through the document. We did do a couple copy edits. We were trying to clean up the language. There was a couple instances where we agreed to put something in that didn't get in, but it finally got caught towards the end of the process. And the good news is there wasn't really a dissenting opinion, so to speak. I don't know if you followed LNC platform changes from New Orleans last May. There was basically every page of the document had, half of our subcommittee supported this, the other half of the minority supported that, and there was a effort to pick through the whole thing, picking option A or option B. In this case here for the Florida platform, we were unanimous in our voting and in the language chosen. I think where we had our compromises was prior to the vote to pass whatever we were trying to pass. So at times, we would be debating through the language. Somebody wanted it this way, somebody wanted it that way. We ended up with a third way that we could all agree to. So it was a positive experience being on the platform committee. I don't think anyone left in a huff, which is worthy of mentioning. And we hung together all the way to the end. So at this point, we do have only a couple more days left, I think 2, to gather any commentary that we can actually incorporate in the form of a change to the language, which I welcome. But the truth is we have to get a final copy to the Secretary of Libertarian Party of Florida. I think it's either Wednesday or Thursday. The chairman, Stephen Nicola, is responsible for managing that exact date, but it's the next day or 2. Once that's filed, the only opportunity to change it's going to be in convention. So part of our rationale for doing this kind of push, which I'm not aware has been done in years past, having these video conferences and getting the markup documents out a month before the convention. Part of the motivation for this is to get all the votes and up the learning curve, get them on board with the language, and inevitably have their buy-in in convention, so we don't end up doing 50 different motions to get from the beginning to the end. We're really hoping to do this in 1 or 10 motions total, and that's definitely a motivation for us. Predominantly because we've watched multiple conventions that never even got to vote on platform changes, even though they had a platform committee meet for the course of a year. So that's sort of the history of the subcommittee. I'm just a member on it. Stephen Nicola is the chairman of it. He's done a great job. I'd like to thank Google and Google Docs for allowing us to work as a team for communicating and editing these documents. That did work out very well, and that's my opener for now. So I think we got Jay Mark on here, and was there a second gentleman that might have just joined us? Or
Hi, my name is Jay Esch. I'm pretty new to the scene. I'll just do a quick background. I won't take up your time here, but started probably around 2008-ish, like the Ron Paul movement, like a lot of people did. That was a background. I've been interested in politics for a while before that, but never really got passionate about any kind of political orientation, left or right, kind of went both ways in that side. Finally became a paying member this year as part of the LP officially. So I said, well, instead of just arguing about things on Twitter all the time, I want to make a positive impact on things. So I want to see kind of what everything is about here and seeing where we can make some more meaningful contributions at the state and the local level.
yeah, I like what I hear, Jay Ash. That's excellent. And thanks for donating to the state party. And yeah, it's that's one of those decisions we all have to make on this road of life. Is we're just going to be a Sunday morning quarterback commentator complaining about what happened yesterday, or if we're going to jump right in the middle of it and try to impact the future. So thanks for stepping up. Hopefully, Libertarian Party of Florida will be a good political vehicle for you to help steer and make an impact. So glad to hear you're new, and hopefully we'll see you in Tampa. And I think it's like 3 weeks. I believe it's May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. There's going to be a state convention, which is free to attend. I know there's various purchase packages, but don't let the price point scare you off. You can certainly participate if you're a registered libertarian here in the state of Florida, simply by showing up. And you can be in the room and you can vote and all that good stuff. So we'd love to have you.
You have to register with the
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you for the information.
Yeah, you're welcome. I look into the details. I'm being told over my left shoulder that you do have to register as a delegate. I'm not in charge of registrations, but go through the website. There might be details there to make sure you're fully set up correctly before you walk in there. But I know historically you could register the morning of the convention, but that might have changed.
convention.lpf.org.
So I'm being told it's convention.lpf.org.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I'm registered already to vote LP in the state, so I'm taking care of in that regard. I've already seen what the convention information looks like, so now it's just getting familiar with how everything works at the convention. So it'll be my first time. So just a little background research on my part.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. Yeah, I don't go too far off the topic, but the agenda is published for what's going on with the convention, and I know our group, the subcommittee doing the platform committee, has our spot on the agenda for Saturday. I think it's between like 2 and 6 p.m. A lot of the, like half the subcommittees like ours, there's a rules committee and a bylaws committee, and us, platform committee, are going to get a shot at getting some work done on Saturday, which typically doesn't happen. Usually it's just elections for officers and things like that. All right, so you got your folks here, and Jay, I know you showed up late, but we are recording this for purposes of trying to educate the rest of the delegates. Whatever salient thing we say here might get, edited into a video that's going to get circulated around. So I just want to repeat that.
Right.
Was there any other categories or sections that you felt were, beyond what we would accept as a state party, or maybe not quite going far enough?
No, not at all. Of course, I read through the platform in detail this afternoon, and I was really quite pleased with what I saw. I'm ready to vote yes for it.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Thanks for reading through it. Believe me, I've personally witnessed these conventions get mired down with Robert's Rules of Order and the work not get done. I'm a big proponent of measuring outcomes, not effort. So in the case of this subcommittee, our outcome is to get a update of the platform. It doesn't have to be exactly what we wrote, but to make things simple, we're trying to sell it ahead of time, like we're doing here. And somebody like yourself who's gone through it and has marked it up and has provided some level of his own authorship. Believe me, I'm happy you're sharing this. Tell your friends and people sitting next to you in convention, and just do the old follow me, vote like me, as best you can, without forcing anyone to do anything. But we're trying to build build an upswell here. Excellent. Do you have any other follow-ups on that, J. Mark?
Nope.
So J.S., if I'm saying your last name correctly, am I? S? Close enough? I figured I'd ask you.
Wrong button, I apologize. Yes, it's Esh. Ukarte, yes. You're good for the first time. Not many people get it, so props to that.
Thanks. I know you're new. I don't want to put too much pressure on you, but I want to give you a chance if you would like. You may have questions, just wide open questions, or you may have had a chance to read ahead. Or you may even have strong personal interests in what's going on in our society and government. Was there any areas you were wondering about that we could be able to help with?
Maybe not so much in terms of policy, but if a couple of general questions, if you could answer. Just looking at that, some good suggestions there in terms of should and must, obviously. But in terms, you have to go into too much detail. We can take it offline if need be. But in terms of how the structure of this document is organized, when we look through state government, what's the impetus of putting certain items forward? 1, 2, and 3. So why is the declaration of war above certain other items, or how typically when you organize this, the priorities of the party? What are the determinations that go into kind of those pieces, or is it just contextual where it doesn't matter, you put it down, that's go down, that's kind of the order that they fall?
Those are great observations. There's no guideline, I would say. I could say there's been some weight given to how the document was structured originally. We've not wanted to, completely move all the pieces off the board and rearrange it and put it all back together again. But we did want to go through every single piece to assess it. I can tell you, I think it's, let's see, I lost my bar here for scrolling. Let me see if I can scroll here correctly. For education, that we've been, as a party, kind of on again, off again, vocal about funding public education. And there's been some state or national level Libertarian National Committee members who've been very vocal about not funding public schooling. So I believe we had nothing in our platform regarding funding of public schooling. So we did speak as a subcommittee here, a platform committee, about this. We came up with this one line, and we put emphasis on this right at the lead. Number 1, under education, individuals should not be compelled to fund public schooling. So that no means we're that we're against educating children or anything like that. It's just we're putting the responsibility on the parents. The next line, and we're also in general against monopolies. And although there are options for families, we're wanting to really open up the marketplace and let everybody compete. So including the public schools, they shouldn't get a lock on the taxpayers' funding. Taxpayers should be able to possibly not to participate at all and opt out. So I'm not gonna read all the lines here, but that was one area I know that I was passionate about, that we did in fact, put emphasis on this one, the opener here, which I think is what people take note of that, and it's a big time conversation starter. And for anyone who's a libertarian apologist who wants to getting the conversation going with anybody in the establishment parties, this one usually is a great place to start. Don't want to overtalk you, but it's by all means jump in.
That's great. I'm glad I noticed that. I was going to bring that up too. I think education is an extremely important part, even if people have disagreements on about how exactly the manner that it's funded. It's something that can't be ignored. It's just a process of how it's done. So I'm glad those pieces are in there. Well, it comes to maybe not under education, but it does go against a non-aggression, but maybe some items in the future, perhaps looking at the quote unquote free range parenting, how some other states have moved towards adoption of letting a little more, we'll say, parental ownership and less involvement by the state. In general, how parenting is done. That might be some interesting points to put in, at least contextually, in the LP stuff for Florida. So I believe Utah and some states have done that. Like Connor Boyack has been a big movement in for those kinds of pieces.
Connor Boyack, is that the name?
Yeah, he published some of the Tuttle Twins books, and he's helped, I believe, with some of the legislation that quote unquote free range parenting piece. So just that piece kind of reemphasizing that the state is not the sole proprietor of your kids. There's not the ownership, that the parents have the ultimate responsibility. I know it's kind of expressed implicitly when we say the non-aggression principle, but just kind of reiterating that piece might be something important to highlight in terms of values and, perhaps the way we go in terms of pushing legislation.
Right. I definitely appreciate you flagging that for us. I would have to get back to you to let you know if there's another solid spot in here where it calls out parental responsibilities and things like that. I know we're hammering against the state pretty much throughout the document, so it's we're definitely setting the boundaries for where we think the state should operate, and it's certainly not in our house or in our families. I know there's a healthcare component here. Let's see, welfare and charity. I think I might have heard Jay Mark speak up there. So Jay, if you want to jump in while I dig for this healthcare piece, feel free.
I don't recall, honestly. I just know that Connor was someone who had highlighted that, and I think he may have helped in that piece. So that was just the immediate example that came out in terms of, that piece in terms of rights for individuals versus the state.
Sure. Just about getting the state out of our lives. I don't know if you guys are tracking this too closely, but in general, when the feds want something done, there's a grant program, and the grants basically have the local law enforcement folks do the bidding of the feds. So we're against that. And that's predominantly because it's, we're basically renting our cops to do the feds' work. If the feds may have a law, but it's not the Florida law, and so they communicate what they want through these grant programs. We're basically saying let's get out of that. Additionally, for anybody who's sensitive about marriage equality or what have you, we're basically just saying we want the government out of the business of marriage. This is private relationships, private agreements, and some of them might involve third-party religious institutions, not the government. So that's not quite hitting the free range parenting category, but obviously we're taking bites out of it. That's also covered in here as well. Let me see if we can find that. I'll have to dig for that. Somebody wants to put me on the next target. That would probably help me here if there was a issue you guys had in mind. Hearing none. So in a nutshell, I'll just go back to this side-by-side tour. So I had mentioned we have a couple different versions of markups. I think I would suggest to the folks who are going to be showing up as delegates, who are going to potentially be in the room to vote up or down on the preamble. This is obviously the red line markup version. This is for whatever we have in force now, which is the 2017 version. We dropped in the 2019 proposals on top of it, and this is what you get for a markup. Of course, anything with a line through it is deleted. Anything with an underline is added. So this is yeah, we could go through that here if you wanted to, but we could, here you can easily see, what do we do for, under state government section 1, paragraph 1, we pretty much rewrote it. And you go right through the whole document in that manner. If that doesn't work for people, we have the side-by-side version. Excuse me. And of course, the red is what's in the old version, the green's in what's the new version. I think in this lead, this is the preamble, or the opening paragraph technically. Then state government, I think, lines up a little further down here. So state government starts here with the new, starts here with the old. It's not always lining up left to right, but I think you get the main points. This is just another tool to help you and your eyes determine, what did these guys do for the last 10 months on the platform? How does it compare to the old version? Do I want to go with the green column or the red column? Of course, the green column is what we're proposing, so we're saying, yes, go with the green column. So again, 2 different ways to quickly assess what it is these guys are seeking my vote for. And kind of like what J. Mark had said earlier in this phone call, there's been a lot of hands and eyes on here, doing things like doing basic copy editing for us. And I really appreciate that, because once you stare at this for an hour, you start to lose track of basic grammatical things that are staring in the face and need to be fixed. So we've had fixes, corrections, we've had additions and deletions, and and this is something that has to happen. The old one had a lot of statute-like language in it, and it also had, things like, if we are going to have taxes for property, then, and we took some of those middle-of-the-road versions of language and got rid of the middle of the road. Just really stuck with, what is the Libertarian Party of Florida's position on property taxes? When is this? When or ever is this allowed? Is this really a rent? Are we really paying rent to the state? We don't really own this stuff. That's the kind of nature of the types of changes that we were seeking to make in here. So we were very keen, if there was a middle of the road, sentence in the old version, to go after that and just clean that up or delete it or replace it. All right, so I think one more person just joined us. I know I'm looking for Davey. Is that you by chance, Davey?
Hey,
for a
yeah,
topic?
It's Davey.
Okay, hey, Davey. So me to be quick on the yes or no there, but thanks for joining. We have J. Mark, who you might know from previous LPF activities, and a new gentleman, Jay Esch, who has also just joined us. I believe he's pretty fresh and new to getting active with the state party, so we're happy to welcome him. Davey is one of our platform committee members, and happy you joined. And if I could say we've gone through a couple items already. Was there anything on your mind, Davey?
We've had a lot of long nights with a very in-depth discussion.
How'd you feel about how we worked together, and what do you think the main thinking was for our committee when we came to agreements?
I think most of the time we came to a consensus with everyone agreeing, and I think everyone worked together really well, even though I think we all come to it from a little bit different perspective, which at least, had good conversation and good compromises on how we want to word things. Personally, I think it's a really solid look on the platform. Have there been any disagreements with the way we've worded anything, or?
Yeah, there's been some obvious corrections. J. Mark was focused on, I don't want to put words completely in your mouth, but something to the effect of, we might have said, the state of Florida ought to, and, he had suggested, we should change ought to should, or, must, put, more concise language in, which we appreciate, because that's the type of thing we could stare at it all day but not see it, even though it's right in the middle of the sentence. So there's been some feedback like that. I think, as you know, this is like a third public outreach meeting. So the first one, there was the national platform link in the first email out to people. So I know we had a lot of blowback the first meeting. I think you were on that call, Davey, regarding the preamble. And, are we going to be changing the libertarian preamble? And no, that's out of the scope of what we're doing. And I should probably jump to the share screen, but just since I'm discussing that now, let's see, hit the button here. I want to point out that should anyone be really concerned about us trying to change what libertarianism is, we're not. Let's see, Libertarian Party ratifies. Hereby includes the document of the platform of the National Libertarian Party. So we're the old Florida platform here that we're working on did drop language directly from the national party's platform into the state party's platform. So we did carry some of that language, but we are pretty much flagging it for everybody that we're not trying to change what the preamble is to the national party, which takes something like 7/8 vote of the members to change. We're not trying to change that or impact that. We are, basically saying we're subordinate to what the national platform is. So that's here under section 13. That was one of our first meetings that we did have a lot of, emotional responses from the members. Sorry about that, guys. We're trying to rally you up there, but we were glad you jumped on the call. But Davey, was there any other areas that you were passionate about for yourself that we covered here over the work?
Yeah, I was surprised that we didn't have anything in the previous platform that explicitly stated private property, and I do believe we end up adding that in.
Okay, excellent reference. So that's a huge one. So no referring to private property in the 2017 version of the platform. We're incorporating it here. I'm not sure if this is going to help me search for a keyword. See if this will work here. The spelling is decent. Let's see if we can pull some stuff out here. So state government. We oppose all restrictions on firearms, ammunition, and accessories unless mandated by private property owners on their premises. There's one. Recognize the right to private property and self-ownership as basic human rights. So you have right behind it there. Private property is all property owned by non-government entities. One of government's functions is to protect the private property rights of its citizens. We recognize that citizens may voluntarily transfer ownership of their private property free of government control, intervention, or taxation. So yeah, I mean, this is all, that's kind of amazing. This is what's so beautiful about having a team of committee members is, we're all coming from different places. And obviously, Davey was heavily focused on the private property issues. It's private licensing, private partnerships. Let's see. Got it in there a few spots. So good one. Excellent. Let's see, this will do a two-word search. Private property. Could we hit that one? All right, so I think we hit all those. We got it in there 4 times now, the two-word combination. Thanks, Davey, for helping the Libertarian Party of Florida out on that. I know we had a whole bunch of healthcare stuff that I was kind of passionate about because I've kind of transitioned from eating anything given to me in a package or from an extruder. And been really focused on food and health this last couple of years. So I was personally wanting to do sick care instead of health care for, the power of words. But I got shot down. I was talked down from it because that's kind of a niche thing. We treat diseases in this country. How it got called healthcare, I don't know. But that is what 95% of the citizens here call it. So I know we picked through this for at least a couple go arounds. Pretty much we're open markets for what we're trying to do. We're trying to knock down monopolies, and we want to let in competition. That's just kind of give you the quick three highlights in here. Davey, if you want to jump in at any time, just start talking because nobody's muted here. So the government has no right to interfere or impose upon practitioner-patient relationship. So if anyone's been to a medical service provider in the last couple of years, you know who's reading all those forms. It's the government. And if not the whole form, half the form. And so it's, I don't really need to beat a dead horse. I mean, we just came out of this Obamacare circus, and we have this two-party system that still has Obamacare in force, with the exception of the $599 penalty that we used to have to pay for our personal taxes if we so opted not to have insurance, or only having insurance for less than, I think it was 11 months during the calendar year. So we're like so far away from Obamacare in this document. We're wanting to pretty much shut all that down and let people find their own path. So I'll just I'm kind of running out of gas here, folks. Unless somebody wants to jump up with some new topics, I'll just say this, that Obamacare being like half an 18-wheeler worth of regulations versus Libertarian Party Florida trying to boil it down to 7 salient points in our little platform document. The main audience for what we're doing with this platform is people considering joining our party, of course. This is a good marketing piece. Right now it's formatted for 10 pages, but most people can get through the read of the entire platform in like an hour. People do that. They look at the Republican or Democrat Party platform. I think I have copies of it here, but let's just say it's 40 pages, the whole page written up. This might be like 3 pages of text. Yeah, like a 12 font with no spaces, maybe 5. Easy read. The other main audience is candidates running for office. Not all candidates have been speaking libertarian for the last 20 years, and they might be hot on this topic, but they still have a lot to learn, of course, too, just like we all are doing every day of our lives. But a document like this can help a candidate work their way up the learning curve very quickly, too. I'm personally aware of some candidates who are Libertarian Party of Florida registered candidates in a partisan race, still support public schools wholeheartedly. So all politics are local, and if your goal is to win your election, then you need to be checking the direction of the wind. And yes, people on the street love their schools. I think this document is a good vehicle for educating the masses, defining who libertarians are, in the marketplace of different philosophies or political parties. This document, tries to nail us down, help differentiate us from the others. And I think one of the things that I read in this document, if not specifically word by word, is we're kind of reflecting what the society's been doing, fully funded for our entire lives, and it still sucks. We're watching government funding of so many different things in our society that's still continue to decrease at the service levels and not be competitive with what's in the free marketplace, if the free marketplace is allowed to even exist in those industries or in those sections of our culture. So there's a lot of that here too. Been there, done that. Let's write it down in this platform for what the result is of having been there and done that. Why is it that we're saying public schools aren't something we want to have be mandated to be funded by by all producers in our society, because there's other ways that the producers ought to be able to spend their money to get a better service. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. I think we do get into government indoctrination someplace in here. Let me see if I can find that. So in some cases, there might be a couple zingers in here. Indoctrination. Let's see if I can even come close to spelling correctly. Let's go for doc. So that's kind of some of the pluses for why this document's important. Is gets people up the learning curve pretty quick. Anybody want to have any closing comments or suggestions? Thank you. That's fine. So want you all to know we're going to make an attempt to do this for the next 2 Tuesdays prior to convention. Welcome you guys to like and share, so to speak. Let your other delegate friends or folks who've invited to the convention, let them know us. The platform committee is going to be publishing a video. We're doing these live events, of course. Some of these gems we had in this phone call and the other phone calls, we're going to edit together in a marketing type video to help kind of hit the main questions and answers that people have been concerned with or had brought up to us, and communicate that out to delegates as best we can. If there's any real good ones in here, who knows? Maybe we'll use it in a small marketing piece as the year goes forward. But that's it for me. Kevin O'Neill, just one of the volunteers on the platform committee, and Davey, who joined us too, another volunteer. And anybody have any closing comments before I thank you all for joining us?
Just a quick structural question. Since Chaz and I will probably be formatting this for insertion in the packet, do you visualize publishing the final recommended wording or markup copy?
I personally am going to advocate for that that single column red line. It looks red, but I think it's described as side by side. I can pull it up here in a second. That's the one. This is the one I wanted to suggest you incorporate this one into the packet, which is what I've been describing here as a red line markup. And
okay.
It also the clean final version, which I know you have a version, J-Mark, that you had shared with Steve and Nicaela, which we'll be looking at probably tomorrow night. So basically a markup plus a clean one. I think I heard they had a budget that was ample for printing paper like this for the delegation. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, we figured out how to do it cheaply, so we have.
Okay, so you're in the mix with all that. That's perfect. So
I am. Yes, I'm deeply in the mix.
Thank you for doing this. I don't know if you caught my post on Discord, the app, but we do have the Hillsborough affiliate of the LPF has contacts with some printers, in Tampa. So if you're looking to get all your printing done in Tampa and then pick it up in Tampa when you go to Tampa, we can probably point out a couple printers for you guys if you're looking for that.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, then you don't have to lug and drag stuff like I usually do for my Susie over here. I'm the lug and the drag guy.
Yep.
So these are the two versions we're planning to suggest, and we'll see what we get. Of course, there'll be a digital version as well, but we're trying to get people up the learning curve, and maybe there's a cutoff at the age of 22 or something. But I still like to do reading of copy on paper if I'm going to be kind of signing off on something as something I'm backing. So I think a lot of our members probably have the same mentality as I. All right. Anybody else with the last gasp comments? All right, Jay Ash, I'm so happy you joined us. Thanks for stepping forward, clicking on the URL, and joining us in the mix of things. Again, Libertarian Party Florida is a vehicle to affect change in our limited activist hours down here on Earth. By all means, jump in, work your way to the steering wheel, point this 19 let's see, 1969 Chevy Camaro right down the middle of the lane, or start running over some fence posts. But we want to make something happen here at Libertarian Party Florida, and you know, you are our future, Jay Ash. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And everybody else, come on back next week, same time, same place. It's going to be Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. kickoff. We do think we're going to edit up video to educate the other delegates who can't make it on these calls, probably between now and next Tuesday. So you might see that on your social media. Please like and share. And of course, you know, invite your friends and family to the convention going on May 3rd through May 5th, 2019 here in Tampa. It's in a pretty good hotel. They just renovated it. It's literally right on the bridge that drives across Tampa Bay to the beaches in Clearwater. I should say, you know, St. Pete. It's really about the St. Pete side. But you can get up to Clearwater too if you want to. So if you have family and they want to leave you at the hotel and go to the beach, it's probably like a 25-minute drive from us to the Gulf of Mexico. And it's so invite your friends and family. Come on down. So again, from the platform committee, thanks everybody, and we look forward to seeing you all on that weekend. Guys, enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Have a great night.
You all did too.